The world has gone upside down, and some of us find ourselves with more time on our hands than ever before, while others are just totally overwhelmed by the strange new demands of the current situation. But one thing that all songwriters still have is a desire to write good songs. Today we're going to talk about how to use this strange time to your best advantage. Hi, I'm Brian from Unmute Your Muse TV, where we teach 5-minute masterclasses for songwriters. We use the Gold Song Solution to help you write the kinds of songs that people will love, buy, and tell their friends about. COVID-19 has rearranged a lot of how we do things, and we're all in the process of figuring out how things are going to work in this new world and wondering just how long it's all going to last. Some of us are working way too much and in significantly more stressful ways. For example, my non-music gig is as a nurse, mostly in an emergency department in Baltimore. The job is more stressful now, trying to take care of potentially contagious patients while maintaining social distancing with their families and with our co-workers, all while not having enough personal protective equipment to go around. It's stressful, to say the least. Plus, I worry about bringing the virus back home to my family, some of whom have some lung conditions already. Now, suffice it to say, there are plenty of emotionally charged things that I could be writing about these days. But between all the stress and the crazy schedule, how do I make time? And it's like that for a lot of essential workers, and maybe that's your situation too. And before I dive into any actual songwriting talk, let me just give a big thank you to all of you who are essential workers out there and are working under extremely stressful circumstances. And just as importantly, let me also give another big thank you to all of you who are doing your best to follow the best social distancing guidelines so that hospitals like mine don't get totally overwhelmed. This crisis has brought out the best in a lot of people, but not everybody is able to continue to work like I am. A lot of people are stuck at home at the moment, unable to bring home a normal paycheck. And that brings with it a whole different set of worries, like, how am I going to make rent? How about the rest of my loans and bills? What do I do with the kids while they're stuck at home indefinitely? And perhaps some of you have had this thought. I've got all this free time on my hands, but I feel like I'm not being terribly productive. And then that leads to feeling guilty, which in turn makes it less likely that you're going to get anything done. It's a vicious cycle. So if you fit into either of those boats, I've got some suggestions for you. And ironically, whether you find yourself with too much free time on your hands or not enough, the solution is actually the same. And it's nothing complicated, but when we're operating with more than the usual amount of stress in our lives, which we all are, sometimes we need to be reminded of the basics, just to help us get back in touch with ourselves. So what I'm recommending for everyone, regardless of your current corona situation, is a small, deliberate songwriting routine. So let's break it down. First off, you've got to start small. If you tell yourself, I've got all this free time, so I should be cranking out multiple songs a week, but your past habit has only been to write a handful of songs a year, then that might be an unrealistic expectation. Start small. Start really small. This is even more important for those of you who feel like you've actually got less time now. Start by committing to doing something that seems ridiculously easy. Something you can do daily, maybe 5 or 6 days a week, and then nail it. And celebrate the fact that you're nailing your goals. And then, after a few days of nailing it, raise the bar just a little bit, and then nail that. So here's an example sequence of goals. Goal number 1 might be something like, pick up my pen and songwriting journal every day. Do you see how we're starting with something that is actually ridiculously easy, a no-brainer, a hit it out of the park every time kind of thing? And then once you've got that solid, up your game a little bit. So goal number 2 might be do a 3-minute brainstorming exercise every day. And then once you've nailed that for multiple days in a row, up your game just a little more. As a side note, if you want some specific guidance on 3-minute practice exercises, then sign up for either one of our courses on lyric writing the next time that we offer it. Goal number 3 might look something like spend 15 minutes a day songwriting. Still nothing too flashy. Now, your goals might be completely different than this, depending on what your existing habits are and what your personal goals are. And that's great, so we're starting small. Now let's look at suggestion number 2. Schedule it. As my wife Kelly always says, if it isn't scheduled, it doesn't exist. So pull out your planner and schedule in times for the next week or two when you're going to show up for an appointment with yourself. And treat it with just as much seriousness as you would an appointment with your doctor or your boss. And it might be a good idea to use an anchor. Attach your songwriting routine to a previously existing routine. So, for example, pick a routine that you already have and then get in the habit of doing some songwriting practice before or after that already existing routine. So you might try attaching it to your morning coffee, or after you walk the dog, or before you brush your teeth. These kinds of routines often work best at the beginning or at the end of the day because the middle of our days tend to be more varied and chaotic. And last but not least, make sure that you celebrate your wins. And that's why we're starting with these small goals. Celebrate the fact that you showed up each day. Give yourself a little pat on the back, or actually say out loud, "Good job today. I'm proud of the fact that you showed up for yourself," or that I showed up for myself, however you want to phrase that. It might seem a little silly congratulating yourself for something as small and as simple as 3 minutes of brainstorming, but getting into the habit of meeting your goals and celebrating that fact starts a wonderful cycle of positive reinforcement. And that's what we're all about, getting into good habits, both in how we respect our time and how we think about ourselves. And if you miss a day, give yourself lots of grace. I mean, for crying out loud, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Plans are going to get changed, so don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on the horse tomorrow. And I'd recommend doing a little self-celebration every day after your practice time. But it also might be a good idea to take some time to look back every week or two just to see how much you've accomplished over a larger stretch of time. And when you practice in small daily chunks like this, it might not feel like you're actually making much forward progress on any given day. But then you look back over a longer period of time and you'll be like, dang, I've come so far. And that is a beautiful thing. Now, I can't tell you how long this topsy-turvy world is going to last, but humanity is going to get through it. And with all the extra stress, spending some time songwriting can be an extremely therapeutic activity for you. And the world needs good art right now more than ever. Have you seen all those memes floating around about what people turn to in a time of crisis? It's art. We help people process the stress that they're feeling. We give it a voice, whether it's as a lament for someone who's dying or a protest song at the government's response, or lack thereof. And make sure that you check back next week when we'll be talking about just how to do that. How do you write an effective pandemic song without sounding like white noise or coming off cheesy? And if you haven't already done so, please take a little bit of time to join our Facebook group. There are lots of people there to support and encourage you, whatever you're struggling with at the moment. There's a link in the description box. So, stay safe everybody, wash your hands, practice good social distancing, and keep on writing.